I will be voting yes on this legislation, but I want to make it perfectly clear that it has nothing to do with the faulty arguments used by environmental alarmists who support carbon capture for very different reasons. I do not support the energy mandates approved by Michigan Democrats here a few years ago, but I support this legislation because it makes sense to authorize permitting for carbon capture at the state level rather than the federal level. Injection wells have been utilized in Michigan for many decades and have been done safely. These wells are thousands of feet below the Earth's surface, underneath many layers of impenetrable substrate formations. We do this for natural gas without issue, and carbon dioxide is a safer gas as it is not combustible. There are benefits to this legislation. Allowing carbon capture permitting at the state level may increase productivity in active oil and gas wells here in Michigan. This could help boost Michigan's oil and gas revenue and also have a net result in lowering carbon emissions. I am not against green energy in itself, but I am against government mandates, especially when they make energy more costly and unreliable for Michigan residents. These mandates are based on an ideology that carbon dioxide is inherently bad. When I ask some supporters of this legislation the basic question of what should our target level of carbon be, I don't get any answers. As far as I can tell, it seems the goal is to reduce carbon in our atmosphere as much as possible. What would happen if we actually went all the way and successfully rid carbon from our planet's atmosphere? Well, to start, the Earth's temperature would drop to an uninhabitable level, plant life would die, and we would run out of oxygen. The point being, carbon is essential to life. If we really want to get serious about addressing greenhouse gases, we should maybe be addressing what accounts for roughly half of the greenhouse effect: dihydrogen monoxide. This substance causes many thousands to die annually. It is the cause of many natural disasters, and in the winter it causes many traffic accidents. Perhaps we should create a factory-sized dehumidifiers and get this substance, get it out of our atmosphere. Of course, this is commonly known as water, and we should get it out of the air. Well, obviously I'm joking here, but I exaggerate to illustrate a point that we need to accept that there is a natural order of things we cannot control. We need carbon dioxide to live. That does not mean we should eliminate all regulations. It was not that long ago when many of our urban centers suffered from unchecked hydrocarbon emissions leading to severely unhealthy air pollution. I definitely think regulations controlling pollution serve a common good, but we seem to be going too far on regulating carbon emissions in general. The bottom line is that I support this legislation before us today because it's a step toward improving our energy policy. This should be an easy win. However, the recent energy reforms passed by Michigan Democrats prohibited carbon capture as counting toward clean energy when it's used to support oil production. As one can see, I have mixed feelings about this bill. On one hand, the policy itself makes practical sense. On the other hand, looking at the bill in the context of our current energy policies in Michigan, the benefits become more convoluted. The mandates approved recently in Michigan are unworkable. To conclude, I support this bill based on its own merits. That being said, I look forward to seeing our unsustainable energy policies repealed next term. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to respond to a couple of questions that my colleague from the 15th District mentioned. The first one was a question of why are we, and I presume he means us on the political right side of the spectrum, why are we opposed to renewable resources? Well, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think by and large, we're not opposed to renewable resources. I disagree with the premise. I know I specifically, personally, am not opposed to renewable resources for clean energy. What I'm opposed to is the government mandates of it and mandating a technology on a scale that it's not ready for. That's what the problem is, because that, in fact, that impacts real people in a negative way. It makes their energy that they need to survive and to live too expensive. So I guess that's the answer to that question. The next one was about carbon capture being expensive. Why would we want to support a policy that's going to increase costs? Again, I disagree with the premise. It is the Democrats' energy bill that was passed last term that mandated, if we're going to allow gas generation of electric energy, it's going to have at least 80% of carbon capture. We didn't put that mandate in. You guys did. So it's your mandate that you guys passed last term that is causing this additional cost to come in. The question of this bill is whether or not we should allow the permitting at the state level or not whether or not we should mandate carbon capture. So for both of those questions, I disagree with the premise, and I feel like we're on strong ground as to being a yes on this. So thank you, Mr. President.